remember one time I was standing on a fucking Coca-Cola crate as a stage in a bar in a bar in Jersey, and the fucking stage is what they held the 2 liters of Coke in, and I'm standing on this thing, and I'm just yelling at people while they're eating chicken parm and shit. Wanted nothing to do with me, but you know what? Jokes came because it's almost like fight or flight, right? It's like, hey, I chose to do this shit, and I'm making no money right now. So let me get the most of it, you know? It's funny that we're talking about this because I was talking yesterday to somebody, and they said, if your kids wanted to do this. And I said, look, I drove from upstate New York to Harlem, 125th Street, under the bridge to perform for 250 black audience members who wanted to boo me out of the place. So I said, if you're willing to do shit like that for no money, then we could talk. But if my kids don't have the passion like that, you ain't doing this fucking business. All right? You're too secure as a family for that shit.
Well, talking about security, why did you become a comic, Paul?
You know, it's a great question, Frank. I think, you know, my parents had a really brutal divorce when I was 5 and my brother was 10. And it was the early 80s. And if I'm being honest, and I love my parents and they did the best that they could, but it was textbook of what not to do when you get divorced. You know, right. My father is 100% Sicilian from the Bronx. Italians don't do that. Sicilians, we don't get divorced. This was your mother, and then this and that. And then I'd be on both sides. Oh, your father said this, but you don't know this. So I guess lack of security, and then also moving a lot. We moved a lot. And when I moved, I had to make friends. So I would get popular, I would play sports, and then all of a sudden, 4 years later, I'm moving again. So my stories and my personality, I noticed that people liked. They thought I was funny, and I think that now looking back later, I think that acceptance and being able to be in any situation and make people happy by telling stories or being funny, I think that's where it came from. I think it's an acceptance thing, and I think it's a self-worth thing, maybe.
And it was rooted in your insecurity.
Yes, I think so.
That's why I found a lot of stand-ups. I've worked with many, many stand-ups in my life. And all of those guys, with the exception of Rickles, and Rickles even was a mama's boy, are rooted in their insecurities. That's why your kids are probably not going to be stand-up comics, because they have a good upbringing. That's a tribute to you and your wife.
I appreciate that. And I think so. I think that kind of the brokenness that me and my brother went through is this. So, but look, I wouldn't change it just because to make a living doing what I love and making people laugh. And, you know, this is the only job in the world where we could talk right now on this podcast about, you know, a funny blowjob story, and all of a sudden go on stage tonight and tell that story. And then the next show everything is different. It's the only job where everything is different and fresh. And yep. I love it. Yeah,
absolutely.
But, you know, it's easy to slip into when you first start doing comedy. It's easy to slip into the insecurity of it. You don't want to fail, and you don't want to do too much new stuff. You want to make them laugh, you know? Yeah. And that really stagnates you. You know, you got to have the balls to jump off the cliff and say, okay, I'm doing this new stuff, and that's it, you know?